mysteries as millions of Kenyans continue to ponder the mystery surrounding Raila Odinga's unprecedented handshake with his arch-enemy, Uhuru Kenyatta. Fresh intelligence gathered by the Kenya election petition reveal that Raila Odinga crafted a well-choreographed political strategy that led to the handshake and which may see him become President of the Republic of Kenya in 2022. Details of Raila's plan reveal the following. Before entering into secret talks with Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila discovered that both Kenyatta and the Mount Kenya Mafia cartel were in a great political dilemma. Because of the constant demonstrations before and after the 2017 elections, NRM-led mass boycott of targeted consumer products, growing tension between the Kikuyu community and 40 other communities in Kenya, talk of secession and threats of NRM-led mass action to dethrone Uhuru Kenyatta from power, the illegal Jubilee government had become unable to govern. On the other hand, the betrayal of Raila by his three principal colleagues who failed to turn up at his swearing-in ceremony demoralized Raila, who realized that Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, and Moses Wetangula had no balls to lead a revolutionary struggle under NRM. As Raila faced his own internal challenges, Uhuru Kenyatta was also trying to reach up to him through Margaret Kenyatta, who had engaged Ida Odinga to discuss the problems that were facing their husbands. It is under these circumstances that secret exchanges between Raila and Uhuru begun, with foreign diplomats stoking the fire from the background. What prompted Uhuru Kenyatta and the internal Mount Kenya Mafia cartel to reach for Raila was the reality that the Kikuyu inner circle had grown weary of handing over power to William Ruto in 2022. After experiences with 3 rigged elections in which Ruto was involved, the Kikuyu ruling class is convinced that Ruto is not only ruthless and gangster-like but also shrewd, merciless, and outrightly dirty. If he is handed power in 2022, a huge section of the Kikuyu ruling class believe that their political and economic interests will be under grave danger in a Ruto government. Members of the Kikuyu inner circle remember vividly how former dictator Daniel Arap Moi ruthlessly dismantled the Kikuyu political and economic superstructure after Moi took over from Uhuru's father, Jomo Kenyatta. In 2022, the Kikuyu will not have a presidential candidate who can effectively be sold to Kenyans because none is being groomed and none has surfaced independently. This means that the Kikuyu will have no candidate in 2022. Instead of handing over power to Ruto, Raila is a better fallback option because he is aging, he is democratic while he might not be as ruthless as William Ruto Arap Mashamba. Through their women, Raila was convinced that Uhuru was ready to hand over power to him in 2022 and the handshake deal was born. After his presidency was stolen on 3 consecutive elections, Raila Odinga has noticed that during his lifetime, he will never become president without the element of the state machinery being involved in elections. He understands that at the moment, Uhuru Kenyatta, and by extension, the Mount Kenya Mafia cartel, control the state machine. Raila has understood that even with numbers, no one can win an election in Kenya. Through delicate negotiations, Uhuru pleaded with Raila to help him finish his second term in office in exchange for a Raila presidency in 2022. Uhuru understands that he will never govern as long as Raila remained in the opposition as the people's president. Coupled with the impossibility of handing over power to Ruto and the impossibility of pitting another Kikuyu president in 2022, Raila became the compromise candidate for the Kikuyu ruling class. An agreement was reached that Raila join government through the back door as plans for the mysterious handshake took shape. Since 2013, the Kikuyu ruling class has held power through Uhuru Kenyatta and with the cooperation of the Kalenjin ruling class, which brought in the Kalenjin voters. Although the elections were rigged in both 2013 and 2017, election rigging in 2017 was the turning point. If the Kikuyu will block Ruto from the presidency because of fear and uncertainty, they will need another huge ethnic group to collaborate with if they are to be part of government in 2022. The Luo ethnic group, which forms Raila's political home base, is not just huge. Luos are largely seen as rabid troublemakers in Kenya, perpetually in the opposition, fearless, democratic, proud and, most importantly, ready to die for a cause. It is notable that in post-independence Kenya, the Luo have paid the ultimate price in terms of life and blood during Kenya's democratic struggle. By negotiating with Raila Odinga, the Kikuyu ruling class were also bringing the most problematic ethnic group close to power. If Ruto will be blocked from ascending to the presidency, the Kikuyu will need the Luo in government to survive, and Raila is the man of the moment. This is one key factor that motivated the handshake. The three principals, Kalonzo, Wetangula, and Mudavadi, were all left out of the talks deliberately. The first reason was that bringing them in could have complicated the talks because the issues that were to be agreed on were non-NASA issues. Discussions about Raila becoming president in 2022 could not have been accepted by the three principals because they had reached an agreement that Raila would not present himself for election in 2022 and that he would support Kalonzo. Additionally, the three principals could not be brought in because there were no ready-made positions in government to suit their overblown egos. After they failed to show up at Raila's swearing-in as people's president, the three principals had become politically worthless, and Raila accepted the deal because he understood that his alliance with the three was over. Although the negotiations happened secretly, the handshake was public to send a message to Kenyans and the principals that Raila had dumped his colleagues and was out to explore new political opportunities. The negotiations were instigated by Uhuru's side because Uhuru had become unable to govern. Uhuru was kind of bowing down to Raila, and so he did not want this aspect to be public. While he realized that he would never rule the country as long as Raila was in the opposition, he understood that Raila was the key person who could help him. Uhuru opted to negotiate his legacy other than face another 5 years of political turbulence and possible overthrow by NRM that was getting more and more revolutionary. Western diplomats were becoming even more worried because in the event that Kenya is plunged into anarchy and chaos, the West would be the greatest losers. In the end, Uhuru had to deal and Raila had to do the same for mutual political benefit. There were no negotiations with the three principals because bringing them in government could have led to an overpopulation of stakeholders in the talks. The view from the diplomats was that if the three were brought in, and apart from the inherent and obvious complications, there would be no one left in the opposition benches. Raila agreed that he had been in the opposition for too long and that it was time the three principals carried the opposition mantle as Raila joined government. The view was that the principals had all along been hanging on Raila's coattails and that they had done nothing significant to warrant being included in the talks. The handshake therefore happened with only Raila and Uhuru present, and these secrets might never be revealed officially. According to the secret agreement, Uhuru Kenyatta would officially remain president because he had already been sworn in. However, Raila would be the real president behind Uhuru, and it was agreed that Raila would start acting presidential even without an official title. He would meet diplomats, participate in key decisions, travel abroad on government missions, and be seen publicly as playing a role in government. Those killed during the NASA struggle would have their families handsomely compensated, while to cool down his Luo supporters, development projects would be channeled towards Nyanza abundantly. With time, Luos would be appointed in key positions in government, and that once the Luo were convinced that the handshake was real, Uhuru would start tours with Raila in Nyanza in preparation for 2022. As a result of the handshake, William Ruto's ambitions of becoming president have been scuttled. The entry of Raila in government has also killed Ruto's politics, which were mainly based on attacking and insulting Raila. All Kikuyu hawks have been advised to respect Raila because he is helping Uhuru to govern, while they will need him in 2022 when he becomes president. Raila, on the other hand, accepted to make peace with the Kikuyu because he will need their votes in 2022 when Uhuru is quitting government. Anyone mobilizing for presidency in 2022 is wasting time and money, because if the deal works, Kenya already has a president in waiting by the name of Raila Amolo Odinga. Uhuru cannot backpedal because then, he will have to make Ruto president. This is the real essence of the mysterious handshake between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more intelligence reports and like our videos.